Welcome in, ladies and gentlemen, to the session of encryption and digital signatures. This is the real exciting term I am going to explain you. What actually encryption is, what are digital signatures. Now, what is encryption? Encryption is the process of encoding messages or information in such a way that only the authorized parties can read it. Now, the thing is that suppose I am speaking to an African and he is speaking in his native language and cannot understand the English. It is same as of that. Only that person will be able to understand my language, whosoever knows it. So now third person cannot deduce the information which I am communicating unless and until he knows the way I am speaking. This is the basics behind the encryption. Now encryption actually is like you have to just, I can say, suppose you have to convert this plain text, that is the hello world, into, you have to transmit this hello world so that no other party can read it which is not authorized to read it. How it is done is that you do the encryption of this hello world, you change this into the cipher text here. Now this is the cipher text, that is the text we obtain after the encryption. It is decrypted by the authorized party and the original plain text is then deduced from it. This is the basic phenomena behind encryption. Now, so I can say that science of using mathematics to encrypt and decrypt data is known as the cryptography. Now, what was the advantage of this is that it enables you to store sensitive information or transmit it across insecure networks like the internet so that it cannot be read by anyone except the intended recipient. Only that authorized party will be allowed to read who is actually allowed to read. No other body can read it. Now this is the crypto system. When you convert the plain text into the cipher text, this is known as the encryption, and this whole process is known as the cryptography. Now the key is actually the encryption and the description, the I can say the algorithm which performs the encryption and decryption, that is the conversion of the plain text into the cipher text or the conversion of cipher text into the plain text, is done by the key. Now when the plain text is converted into cipher text using the key, which is known as the encryption, this whole process is known as the cryptography. And when you deduce the plain text from the cipher text, it is known as the cryptanalysis. And this whole phenomena of cryptography and cryptanalysis is known as the crypto system. Now what are the actually components of the plain text, that is the data that can be read and understood without any special measures. The plain text which is to be encrypted is known as the plain text. The cipher is actually the cryptographic algorithm. It is a mathematical function used in the encryption and the decryption process. And once the cipher is applied, we get the unreadable format text which is known as the cipher text. That is data which requires some special function to be performed in it before it can be read and understood. Now key, as I have told you, it is the very large number which is used to encrypt the plain text. What are actually the objectives of performing this cryptography? The four basic objective is the authentication. First of all, this proves one's identity, that this person has sent me and it has sent me in this form. It provides the privacy and the confidentiality so that no other body can read it. So the privacy is provided by the cryptography. Integrity, that the data which was sent, only that is deduced, only that is received. If I send A, if I send the capital A, only capital A is going to be received, it is not going to be anything else. And non-repudiation means that it bounds the sender, that yes, you cannot deny in future that I have not sent you this thing. The user or the sender is bound and is liable to the certain laws, that this person has sent me and you cannot deny it in the future. The cryptography, as I have told you, has been important since ages and it has been really important. The first person to use this was the Caesar, and he just came out with his own mechanism to perform cryptography, and that is he came out with the Caesar's cipher. What actually is Caesar cipher? What he used to do was he used to increment the every letter of the English dictionary, English alphabetical series with the 3. That is, A was converted to D. If he had to write A, he would write D instead of A. If he had to write B, he would write E instead of B. If he had to write C, he would write F instead of C. So this was his mechanism to perform the cryptography. This is what is known as the Caesar cipher. Now basically these days cryptography is performed using there are three basic types of cryptography. First is the secret key cryptography, or we can call it symmetric cryptography. Public key cryptography, which is most popularly used nowadays, that is the asymmetric, and third are the hash functions. Now what is the symmetric cryptography? In this, the plain text, the plain text is first selected and then encrypted using a key. Now the same key which has been used for the encryption, it is provided to the receiver, and receiver deduces the plain text from the cipher text using that key which was used during the encryption. This is the symmetric cryptography, that is, the one key only is used during the whole process of encryption as well as decryption. Now next, what are the algorithms used in this symmetric key cryptography, that is the SKC? Now first of all came the data encryption standard, that is the DES. This was the most common, used in 1970. It was designed by IBM. In this algorithm, the 54-bit key was implied over the 64-bit data. That is, for every 64 bit of data, the 54-bit key was applied in order to encrypt or decrypt the data. Then came the advanced encryption standard. That was the third. This actually became the official successor to the DES in December 2001. Now, what it provided was, it provided the specific key lengths. Those were 128, 192 or 220 or 256 bits of key over the blocks of length of 128, 192 or 256 bits. Now moving on to the public key cryptography, that is the asymmetric cryptography, which is used nowadays. What actually is that the user publishes his public key, publishes one of his key to the whole world. That is, the whole world can send him the data using his public key. And when you have sent the data, the receiver is going to deduce that cipher text using his own private key, which is not given to anybody, and instead is instead it is stored in the safe custody of the person, so that whenever he receives something on his something using his public key, he can deduce it using his private key. That is, a different key is used for sending and a different key is used for reception. This is the asymmetric cryptography, and algorithms used for PKC are RSA. Now this was named on the three inventors of this algorithm, that is the Ronald Rivers, Adi Shamir and Leonard Edelman. Rivers, Shamir, Edelman, it is known as nowadays. Now there are more such algorithms, that is the digital signature algorithm, Diffie-Hellman and the algorithm. Now next, coming on to the hash functions. What actually are the hash functions? Now these are also called the message digest, or this is known as the one-way encryption. Why it is known as the one-way encryption? Now these are actually the algorithm. Instead of fixed length hash value is computed based upon the plain text, that makes it impossible for either the contents or length of the plain text to be recovered. What actually hash function do is, it ensures that if the information is changed in any way, even by just one bit, an entirely different output is going to be there. Suppose, just see here, I have this: the quick brown fox jumps over a lazy dog. Now I applied a hash function over it. The algorithm used here is the SHA1. You will get this 64-bit base 64 encoded value. This is the value. Now it is actually, I can say that hash functions are basically used to check the integrity of the data, that whatever data I have sent, the receiver has used only that data, nothing has been changed. And just, if you can see here, I have just changed A over here. The A has been made capital. Its hash value changes completely. So it means that the data during the transmission was changed. So hash functions come into use here, that you can check the integrity of the data. Now next comes the algorithms for the hash data, for hash functions, that is the message digest algorithms. MD2, MD4 and MD5 are used, as well as SHA. Secure hash algorithms are also used. SHA1, which produces a 160-bit hash value, and SHA2 that can produce the values that are 22, 224, 256 and 384 or 512 bits in length. Now this is the overview. Now what I can explain it to you from here is that in this secret key, or that is the symmetric cryptography, single key is used for the encryption as well as the decryption. In this PKC, that is the public key cryptography, one key is used for the encryption and other is used for the decryption. And when it comes to the hash functions, you have to just employ one hash algorithm over the plain text and you will get the ciphertext. You cannot deduce back the text from this hash algorithm. Now what actually are the digital signatures? Now these are really important. What are digital signatures? Now digital code that can be attached to an electronically transmitted message, that is email, that uniquely identifies the sender. If I have to bound myself to a certain email, then I can apply the digital signature over it, that is, this email has been sent by me only. Now what actually digital signature provides is, it provides you authentication, data integrity and the non-repudiation. That is, authentication and data authentication is that it authenticates the person which has sent you the information, and data integrity comes to that this text which was sent, only that has been received. Non-repudiation is that I cannot deny, that is, the sender cannot deny that information was actually sent by him. So this is, suppose that I have to send this how are you to this user. What actually I'll do is, first of all I'll calculate the hash code of my whole of the data. Then what I will do is, I'll encrypt this hash code with the private key of the sender, and then this becomes the digitally signed document. My private key and the hash code, these both are encrypted and applied to the document, which provides the digital signature to that document. And once the receiver receives that, he can actually check the hash code which is already sent, that this was the hash code, so to check the integrity of the data. And when he decrypts using my public key, he is going to know that if that data is going to get decrypted using my public key, it is going to prove that that was signed by me, and if it doesn't get decrypted, it obviously means that that has not been signed by me and it is not sent by me. So this was all about the digital signature, and these are the legal requirements achieved by the digital signatures, that is the signer authentication. A person's digital signature cannot be forged unless his private key is stolen. Now my signatures cannot be forged until my private key is stolen, that is but obvious. And when it comes to message authentication, it automatically authenticates when I sign a data. Affirmative act, that is the process of digital signature creation, requires the signer to use his private key. Now this actually overt act alerts the signer that he is initiating a transaction that may have legal consequences that he cannot deny in future if that is produced in the court of law. So thanks a lot for your valuable time.